This isn't over! Fight to the death!
Hey guys, it's Azog here with my Garrosh guide. Garrosh was my favourite tank on release. When his Groundbreaker used to pull enemy heroes in, you'd Q them and throw them behind for an easy kill. If any squishy tried to step up to clear the wave, you'd use the combo for an easy kill. Now that it's changed to a 0.75 second stun and no pull-in, it makes his playmaking potential a lot weaker, but I think it's a change for the better. Since it was such an easy skill shot to hit, it was just much too punishing and made it so obnoxious to play against. At least in ANZ, its ban rate in Hero League was almost 100%. To compensate though, he did get a 90 health H pull increase at level 1, which makes him one of the tankiest tanks at the moment. At Eastern Clash, he is the highest popularity of all the heroes, which is interesting to see how the changes have increased his popularity. At the moment, the combo you want to execute is to walk up to the enemy hero, throw them behind into your team, and then Q where you threw them for that CC. You can also perform the old combo, so you Q onto them, walk up to them, and then throw them behind. But it's much harder to execute now, since any heroes with mobility, like Genji, will just dash away, and you won't be able to get the combo off. The current combos, since you have to walk up to the enemy hero, are much harder to pull off, and you will get punished for trying to do it. You might get chunked or even get killed. Considering the changes to Garrosh's Q, the current talents I go for are Wallbreaker at 1, Indomitable at 4, Into the Fray at 7, Warlord's Challenge at 10, Defensive Measures or Double Up at 13, Earthshaker at 16, and then Titanic Might at 20. I'll go through each of the talent tiers to show you why I picked them. Level 1, Wallbreaker, after stunning 5 heroes, you get an extra 362 damage to heroes. Now at level 20, it doesn't seem like much, but the average assassin's health pool at 20 is 3.6k, so it's about 10% of the squishy's health pool, which does add up over the course of a fight and over the course of the game. If you're hitting that on multiple heroes, it will add up to a lot of extra damage. Also, due to Garrosh's current playstyle, the cooldown reduction is really important. You're going to want to be spamming Q onto their front line or any heroes that are stepping up to CC them so that your damage can follow up. This is your main ability that you'll be spamming out onto the enemy heroes. The Unrivaled Strength doesn't really give as much value anymore. Firstly, due to its nerf from 125% to 75% bonus damage, but also the fact it's much harder to walk up to the enemy and throw them back with your Wrecking Ball, so you're not going to be getting as much value with it anymore. Body Check, I can see there being reasons to pick it. If you synergize it with Brute Force at 7, you're going to be reducing enemy healing, which is extremely good against burst healers, like let's say an Ancestral healing by Rhaegar, a Stukov his trait pop, or Uther's healing. But it sometimes might be hard to get value from that, since a squishy, once he gets Ancestral, he might kite out of the battlefield, and it might be hard to really get this Body Check, which is a melee range, or close to melee range ability. It does do an extra bit of damage, and it does have a really high slow, but I think over the course of a game, the quest talent just gives way too much value, and it's too good to give up. At 4, Indomitable is almost always the choice. Garrosh's biggest weakness is his lack of mobility. So if he gets CC'd and caught out, he's going to get bursted down pretty easily, and he has no way to get out. The Indomitable allows you to bait out cooldowns such as ETC's Power Slide, and to make sure that you're not getting caught out, and you can also bait the ETC once he slides you and then throw him behind your team and then get a counter kill on him. Almost all team comps you verse will have some CC, so most of the time you're going to be picking this. Against comps with no CC or little CC, you can get Thirst for Battle. It will add a lot of extra healing over time, but the problem is you might not be getting that many autos off, or guaranteed autos, to be resetting the cooldown of it. But against low CC comps, I can see it being taken. In for the Kill does add to his wave clear, which Garrosh does really struggle with, but in the late game, you're not going to be really using Garrosh for wave clear, and late game teamfights can really decide games. So Indomitable is just so good because it can change the course of a team fight. At 7, Into the Fray is my go-to. It has so many uses. If an ally is caught out of position, you can use it to walk up to them and throw them back into your team to save them, or it can be used to play as a playmaking tool to throw an ally into the enemy team for a kill, follow-up damage, or to just gap close. You can even throw a squishy, for example Malfurion, for a Twilight Dream, straight into the enemy team. Just be careful using it, because if you throw in a squishy, you could just kill them and grief your whole team. The other two talents are interesting, Intimidation and Oppressor. One reduces attack speed, and one reduces spell power. If you get the level 1 Warbreaker, and have a 5-second cooldown on your Groundbreaker, the attack speed slow does actually get quite a bit of value. For every 5 seconds, there's a 4-second attack speed slow. And keep in mind, when you get this talent, you don't have to hit them on the outer ring that stuns them. You can hit them on the inner ring, and it will reduce their attack speed. So this could get a lot of value against heroes that rely on auto attackers, let's say Illidan or Artanis. Oppressor, it looks interesting, but it might get a lot less value because you're not always going to be hitting those mages on the back line. It could work against, for example, Sonya to reduce the whirlwind healing, but in that case you might as well probably take brute force to just reduce the healing directly. So out of this talent here, I think Into the Fray is just the best. It has so many uses. At 10, Warlord's Challenge. I mean, 50-second cooldown, 2 seconds of CC, it's just too good to give up. For such a long CC, probably one of the highest in the game, such a low cooldown, it can just change team fights. Decimate, I can see it getting value against heroes that add extra bodies onto the battlefield, such as Samuro or TLV, to get those resets. And it does add quite a bit of extra damage and slow, but Warlord's Challenge is just too good. Considering Garrosh's kit is just about getting picks and throwing enemies into your team, the 2-second CC will just win it in those decisive team fights. One thing to note with Warlord's Challenge is you can use it in a few ways. You can just walk up to enemies and then taunt them. Another way is you can throw them with your Wrecking Ball and taunt them mid-air. So you just spam R straight after you throw them, like this, and you'll taunt them mid-air. I'll do that again. I can even throw them behind and do that. Or you can throw them forward and do that. Just like that. Keep in mind, if they're a melee hero, and let's say your team is here, and you throw them and taunt, he is going to run into you. So he's going to run away from your team. So sometimes it might be better to taunt him this way into your team, and he'll follow you. The other use you can use is you can Q for a stun, and then while they're slowed, run up to them and taunt them. There's quite a few ways to use it. At 13, if they have a lot of sustained damage, I go defensive measures. A 767 shield at a 5-second cooldown, considering level 1 talent, is quite massive. If you look at his health pool, 4.5k at 20, that's about 17% of his health pool in shields. And then keep in mind, his trait gives armor, so that gets value on top of that, making the shields even stronger. It does add up to a lot of extra shielding and makes Garrosh extremely tanky past the 13 talent tier. If you keep spamming this off cooldown, and remember to weave in your W when you're low to get that extra safety heal, it makes him extremely hard to kill. Double up is really good against burst damage. Doubling the armor is actually a massive increase. The way armor works, doubling armor doesn't just double the amount of health you have. It actually has increased value the higher the armor increase is. For example, at 75 armor, it doesn't increase your health pool by 75%. It actually increases your health pool by 3 times, effectively quadrupling your health pool. I might do a video on armor later in the future just to explain why this is the case. So if your health goes down so that your armor becomes around 35, you can proc an armor up and it will increase your armor to 75, which makes you have 3 times more health. It's quite a huge increase, and then you have your Bloodthirst so that you're unkillable with that 75 armor, and at the last second you proc your Bloodthirst to heal up all that extra damage, and you can bait out so many cooldowns and then turn the team fight. At 16, I go Earthshaker. The stun is just so good. It has so many uses. You can use it to throw an enemy just behind you and then guarantee the Q. Or you can use it to throw it on top of enemies. So if they're all grouped around here, let's say, you can throw them directly on top of them, or you can even Q them so that they stay in place. Let's say all the enemies are here, and then throw the enemy on top for 0.5 plus 0.75. So that's 1.25 seconds of CC on multiple heroes, which is quite huge and can really disrupt the enemy team. The other two talents, I don't see much use at the moment. Obviously, due to the change, Mortal Combo isn't really good since you're not going QE much anymore. You're going to be going EQ. So you're not going to be getting value from this much at all. The Groundbreaker Slow is quite useful, but I think the Earth Shatter, the extra CC, is just trumps it overall. At 20, Titanic Might is a go-to. Death Wish, it doesn't always get value because you're not always going to be guaranteeing a kill within the 2 seconds. The Titanic Might though is just so much stronger with its playmaking potential. If you manage to get onto the back line and throw in 2 squishies and then stun them, it's going to guarantee 2 free kills and you're just going to win the team fight late game, which can just secure a win. It's just too good to give up. Obviously, if you went Decimate, the Decimate upgrade is really strong. 20% damage reduction on enemy heroes almost permanently if you're proccing it at the right time and it's getting the resets due to the cooldown reduction. A 20% hero damage reduction on the whole enemy team could get a lot of value in the course of a long team fight. Also, if you went body check, you want to get the body check upgrade. Those are my talent guides, and this is my Garrosh guide. Thanks for watching. Remember to leave a follow and a like, and cheer us Aztech Esports at the HEC ANZ Premier Division. I'll see you next time in the Nexus.